So, hello everyone. Uh, so I'm Abhinav Roy. Yeah, yes, this slide. So today we're gonna. So the last class or the last video we showed you. So the basics of HTML, how to write the syntax of HTML, and uh, and I told you the basics of the CSS. That there are three types of CSS and all of that. Okay. So in today's stream, I'll just start with the basics of CSS, the definition, the syntax, and I'll move to selectors, CSS selectors. So CSS selectors are very important as CSS part is concerned because they are the basics of that. Okay, so let's move on. So as I told you earlier, that if you consider your body to be a, if your skeleton to be a HTML, then your skin, okay, or the clothes you wear, they all are CSS. Okay, so suppose so you can understand how important CSS is. Any web page or any website without CSS, so no one will click that. Okay, and even if you click, you'll immediately move out of that site. How good that site is, how good functionality that site provides. If the CSS is not good, if the look of that site is not good, no user will stick to that website. Okay, so it's very important to use CSS and to learn CSS. Okay, so moving syntax, it's very easy but hard to remember. Not syntax, but the whole CSS properties. Okay, so let me say the syntax is, you have to first know selector. Okay, so there has to be one selector any selector, I'll show you what types of selectors are there. Then there will be a curly braces under which there will be a property and a value. Property can be the color, the background color, the text stylings, formattings, anything like that. And the value will be the value applied to that property. And this thing, the selector which has selected the element, this CSS property will be applied to that. Okay. So that's pretty straightforward. So let's move to our important part, selectors. So what are selectors basically? Selectors are, suppose you have a HTML layout, HTML block. Okay. So in that you have a paragraph written your name. My name is this. Okay. So now you want that paragraph to be of a certain color, suppose red, and you have many other paragraphs or many other divs or links, but you just want to apply the color red on that paragraph only, okay, where your name is written. In that cases, selectors are used. Selectors are used to select a element of the HTML page. So moving on, the types of selectors. Standard type I'll show you in the next video, and starting with simple selectors. So simple selectors are basically the selectors of the HTML elements only. Okay. Suppose you have div mentioned in the selector, so you will use a div and then the property and the value. Suppose you have paragraphs, then paragraph, then the property and value. So I'll show you. Let's see that only first. Let's move to VS Code. And this hello world.html was created in the earlier video as I showed you. Let's just create the boilerplate. Boilerplate is basically, we tell boilerplate to the basic structure of the HTML. So this is the basic structure: the head part, the body part, and the HTML, and the HTML closings. So one important thing, even if you remove this HTML, okay, or the head, okay, these things are basics. So during when the web page is loaded, if you even if you remove this HTML tag, it will be added further by the web page. Okay. So I'll just remove this extra closing div, closing tag. So now there are basically three types in which CSS can be provided. First is inline CSS. Inline CSS is basically, as I showed you last class, that is this style attribute that we use, and then the any styling that we use there. Okay. This is while we talk of that I'll tell you afterwards. And then we have internal CSS. Internal CSS is the CSS used in this head tag. So we use this by using the style tag, and then we write our CSS codes inside the style tag. Okay. And then we have external CSS. External CSS is creating another file and then linking to that file style, you inline style. Okay. Inline style, suppose you have a body which has some content like I am Abhinav, and then you provide some styling to it. Suppose I provide a height of, suppose 5 rem. I'll talk of 5 rem pixels and em afterwards. And then I suppose I give it a background color of, sorry, background color of, suppose aqua. So let's just copy the path, and then I'll just paste this. So my whole body has a color of aqua now. Okay, so this is good. But basically, if you talk of preference, then when a web page is loaded, this inline CSS has more preference than the internal or external one. Okay, but still it does not look good or organized. So we'll not use this This is our first and last time we have used this. Okay, no one uses it. So second, we can use inside the inline in internal CSS. So in internal CSS, as I told you, we use simple selector. We can use simple selector. So what is simple selector is, we have this body. Okay, so this body tag, we write this body as a selector. Okay, and then simply curly braces open and close, and the type of the property we want to uh, apply to this. So suppose I have used that background color, I'll check to that, and aqua. So this gives me the same output, the same result we get using this. I'll just comment it out and show you using the external CSS. Okay, so I'll just create a new file here. Okay, I'll just create a new file named, basically they are always named style.css, so I'll just name it that. And with the CSS extension, CSS like HTML, we use .html, we have CSS as .css, and then save it. Okay, as simple as that. So let's just do the body and the background color as aqua as we used. So does it sound good now? No, because we have not linked it. So to link it, okay, first let's do this. So to link it, we'll just use link, and this link comes with a relative, that is relation of style sheets, and href. This href we have seen in anchor tags. When we were using anchor tags, we use href to show the relation, okay, to where the hyperlink will be going. So now we have this href to link to our this file, style.css file. So I'll just use style.css, and it's linked now. Now let's see, does it work? Yes, it works. Okay, so for this to work, you have to have the other file in the same folder, or the same drive. Okay, so suppose in this case I have this in the desktop. I'll show you. So see, my hello world is here and my style is here. It's all in this desktop only. So suppose I move this style to any other folder or any other drives or all of that, then it will not work. Okay, moving on. We have other simple selectors, like we have ID. Okay, ID and classes. So for ID, to use ID, inside the tag, inside the opening tag, okay, always the opening tag, we use id equals to, and then apostrophe. Okay, this can be single, this can be double, it doesn't matter. And then the name of the id. Okay, suppose I have a suppose okay, id of called name. Now in css, style.css, instead of using let it be this body only. So I'll show you another thing. Now if I do to select an id, you have to use a hash, and then the name of the id, that is my name. So I've given this name as the given this name as the name of the id. And now if I do a background color, see what will happen. If I do a background color, suppose this. Okay, if I do a background color with this, it will override this. Okay, so now if I reload, it will override this. So you can stop this by using another property of css, that is called important. So now if I write important here, so CSS will understand that the developer or someone who writes the code does not want this, but it overrides everything and applies this property. So now if I reload, I get back to aqua. So I'll just not use that. I'll even I not use that also. Let it be. Okay. So next we have is class. So what is class? It's same as this. I'll just use another, or I'll just write a paragraph here with my class. So same syntax, class and then equals to the name of the class in apostrophes. So let the name be let it be my name. Just random things I'm writing, and then I am the content of the paragraph. So here suppose to select a class we use a dot selector, okay, and then the name of the class, that was my name. I suppose this was the name. Yes. So now to this I do any styling that I want to do to this content. So suppose this is a text, I will do some text formatting like font. I'll show you what are these in the next videos. So suppose I do a font size of suppose 25 pixel, okay. So 25 pixel, and now if I reload this, I get a bigger text, but only to this thing. So I'll show you how that is differed. Suppose I do another p of this is not the to be selected paragraph, and now if I reload to this thing, it does not apply the font size property. So let's another thing I have is a universal selector. Okay, so universal selectors are done using they're usually done on the top of the CSS file, and it is done using asterisk. Okay, asterisk, and then the properties like in usual CSS files, asterisk, this universal property is used to give a universal property to the HTML or the page you are creating. Okay, suppose you want to have a font size, oh sorry, font styling that has to be applied to every font that you write on the web page. So we use it. Or another thing that many web developers use is to before using or starting the CSS styling, they just want to have their margin and padding as 0. What this does is, you can see there is some spacing before I, and there is some spacing before this, and there is some spacing between these two paragraphs. Okay, so what does this does is it removes all that extra spacing, and now if I reload this, you can see it like this. Okay, it does, it remove that extra spacing. So I'll just not use this. And one more thing, suppose you have this with same properties, you can group them. Okay, suppose I name this, suppose yes, suppose this also has a class of another class, and I give this another class a font size of, right, have the same. So now if I reload, you can see they both have the same properties, so I can group them. Okay, I can group them by using a comma. Okay, by using a comma I can group them. So another class, and just I'll just remove this. So now what will happen, no changes observed because I've just grouped them. So next we move on to, next we move on to and combinator selectors. Okay, is this visible? Yeah. So combinator selectors are selectors that how yes, that gives a relation between the selectors. Okay, that gives a relation between the selectors, or you can say simple selectors or any type of selectors. Okay, which gives a relation. So this relation is basically of three types, I can say. One parent, and then a child or sibling. So parent, you can understand from the word of parent that it is a topmost tag. Okay, the element that we are using, the topmost one. Suppose we have the HTML. So the HTML tag that we use, that is called a parent one. And then we use the div or the p1, they are the children. And siblings are which are not inside the parent one, but just adjacent to inside the parent one, but the children. And after, so the many children, if there are two children, they are sibling to one another. The basic thing is this. So so there are basically four types of combinator selectors. The first one being descendant selector. So descendant selector is, so suppose, wait a moment. Yes, I'll just move to the VS Code. Yes. Suppose when I say a descendant selector, so descendant selector is it selects all the elements that is inside another element. To describe this more clearly, suppose I have a div, okay, and then inside the div I have a paragraph which says this is the first para, and then suppose I have a paragraph here and says this is the second para, or I'll just write another para here. This is the second one, and this is the third one. Say okay, and now if I do sorry, and now in my CSS one, if I do that for descendant selectors, if I do a div and then with the space I write p and the opening and curly braces. And now if I write any property to this, suppose I write a background color of suppose red, make it visible. So it chooses all the paragraphs that are inside this div. So let me show you. So see, the third one is not chosen. It chooses only the first one and second one. Why? Because the first one and second one are as a selector here. So the next one is child selector. So what is child selector? It selects all the children of an element. It selects all the children of an element. So to show you a example for this, okay, this YouTube one is creating. Okay, so to show you a child selector, what the child selector does is I'll show you the difference. Okay, I'll show you the difference between child selector and a descendant selector. They're almost the same. Okay, they're almost the same, but the only difference is, suppose I write here a section. Section is another tag of HTML to define a certain section of the HTML page. And now this one is this one should not be, please, should not be chosen. And now To write the child selector, we use a greater than sign. So you use this sign, greater than sign. Okay. So what this greater than sign will do, it selects the child of the div. So I'll show you, and then say what is happening. You can see this. This one is should not be chosen and is not chosen, though it is under the div. Though it is under the div, it is not chosen because the thing that the p that is under the div is only these two. Okay, I'll just show you another thing. Sorry, this would not have been chosen anyways. So now if I write this and this is not chosen now, and see this p will not be chosen because it is a child of section and not div. Reload, and this is not chosen. Okay, so this is the difference. This is a descendant. To choose this one is descendant. Okay, so that's why it is not being chosen, and these two are being chosen. Okay, so let's move to the third one, that is adjacent sibling selectors. So adjacent sibling selector, to define this it purely is, first I have to show you what is sibling. So sibling is the uh, sibling is the childs that are under the same parents. Okay, and they are basically, if they these two are sibling to one another. Okay, these two are sibling to one another. Even div is a div and this para is sibling to one another. Okay, because their child one is HTML tag. This is the parent one. Sorry, the parent one is HTML tag. So what is an adjacent means? Adjacent means immediately following. Immediately. When I say immediately, it means that suppose these two are sibling, this div and para are sibling, and if I write another paragraph here, this is the fourth para. This fourth para is not the immediate sibling of this div's child. Okay, this third one is. So to show you an example, let's go to, so to show you an example, let's say we have this div and then plus. So adjacent sibling selector is used, is shown or selected using a plus sign. Now if I reload the page, the third para is being highlighted. Why? Because it is just below, it's immediately following the div, and I've selected div and then p. Okay, so it's what the CSS does, it finds the immediately following p or sibling that is after div. It finds this paragraph which has a content of this is the third para, and this highlights the third para. So let's move to the fourth one, that is called general sibling selector. So general sibling selector is shown using a, I'll show you. I don't know what the sign is called. I'll show you what the sign is. And what it does is selects all the elements that are sibling to a specified element. Okay, so to a specified element, suppose I have div. Okay, and selects all the elements that are sibling to a specified element. So let's just show this in practice. So suppose what this adjacent one was doing, it was just highlighting the third para. Now suppose I want to apply a styling to all those paras that are sibling or after this div. To do that, I'll just remove this plus one and add this sign. Sorry, this sign. Okay, I don't know what this sign is called. I think we use this in mathematics as a approx one. Okay, so this sign, and then if I reload the page, all the siblings that are after the div now have been applied the styling or background color. So I'll just move to okay, 30 minutes have passed. I think I'll cover only one more selector now. Okay, and then I'll show you in the next classes. Sorry, next videos, not classes, not classes. Chrome. Let's move to Chrome now, and my PPT. Wow, the most low effort PPT I've ever created. So yeah, these two are covered, and the third one is pseudo class selectors. So pseudo class selectors are important. Okay, in earlier CSS, so this CSS that we are using is CSS 3, but in earlier CSS that was CSS 1 and 2, pseudo classes and pseudo selectors. There was a sorry pseudo elements. So they looked almost same. Okay, so in the newer ones, we have as in pseudo classes we use as a single colon, and in pseudo elements we use double colon. So uh, I think in Chrome you can use single. In today also you can use a single colon, but I think the Internet Explorer does not support now. So that is not the important part. Moving on, what is pseudo class? Pseudo class is used to define a specific state of an element. Okay, so what is the state of an element? Suppose I'll show you with example. Let's just move to the VS Code, and now I'll show you this thing. Suppose I have a anchor tag. Okay, suppose I have an anchor tag, and I'll show you. I've shown you the last class. What is this? Again, I'm saying the class. In the last video, as href. What this href does, it guides you to a certain page. Okay, so it is just a link. Okay, so I'll just write the link of Google, so www.google.com, and then you have to write uh, a text here so that the user can see the link. Okay, so I'll just write go to Google to make it a bigger link. So now if I reload this, now if I reload this, I have this go to Google here. Okay, so which has a whenever I hover on this, we see a pointer, hand, and then here we can use anchor pseudo classes. Okay, so basically we have four pseudo classes. First one being a link. Okay, so it's very easy. You can say a, that is the tag to select this anchor tag a, and then so I have a here, that's why I'm writing a. Suppose I have a class written here, with anything anchor, suppose, so I can write here, and then the my pseudo classes. Okay, so I'll just not do that. I'll just stick to the basic, and I'll just remove the class. Okay, but you can do that. So next we have a, and then this is the default one. So even if you don't do this, even if you write uh, even if you write nothing, here, these the styling that I'm about to write here, it will be applied. Okay, so to write suppose a color to this, so by default you can see it has this blue color. So suppose I want to change this. Okay, so this blue color was not given by me, it is by default. So suppose I want to change this to suppose red. Okay, everything is red now, and now if I reload, oh sorry, the basic definition of this link is that you to show that it is not visited now. Okay, so it is to show that you have not visited this link, and another thing we have is a and visited. What this visited will do, suppose I've clicked this, so Suppose I have to show the user that it is now clicked. So I'll just do a color of, suppose, green. And now if I click this, and I'll just do that, so that I showed you last class, that is target and underscore blank. It will load this in the another tab. So you can see it is green now. Okay, because I've clicked it. Moving on. Oh, sorry. Moving on, I have another option that is called hover. So this, what this does is, suppose I mouse hover over the link, it should change a color. Suppose I change the color to, suppose, brown. Okay, or maybe white, azure. Okay, to make it more visible. So now, if I reload the page, and now if I hover over this, you can see the color is changing. Okay, so this is very useful to add some life to your websites. And the last one we have is selected. So what this selected does, selected, I'm writing the correct one or not? Selection. I think I'm writing the correct one or not. The selected one is not used much. I have not used much. Let me see. Oh, okay. That is a problem. I don't think CS3 supports this selected now. Okay. La, let's just check. Let's just check if it does support or not. So suppose I do this brown. So what this selected actually defines is, so if I right click on the link, it should change the color to blue. So let's just see. Let's just experiment if this works or not. No, it does not work. Okay. So yes, I did not knew this. So thanks to this live, I know now that CS3 and CS2 also does not CSS, sorry, CSS3 and CSS2 does not support this selected. So yes, I have another. We have another two selectors as pseudo classes. Okay, sorry, pseudo elements. Okay, I can show you one more thing. Okay, let's see one more thing. Suppose I have a Achal, yes. What was that called? Yes, first child. Okay, first child. So what does first child pseudo class mean? First child pseudo class is, it matches a specific element or the specified element that is the first child of another element. Okay, that is the first child of another element. So let's just see the example for that. Okay, one thing that I must tell you before going forward is the a hover, or this hover, pseudo class, yeah, pseudo class must come after this link, and the visited one must come after that. Only then it will be effective and work, and elsewise it will not work. And also, and the selected one, the active one. There is another one active. You can search in the web. The active one should also come after. The active one should also come after the hover one. Okay. So let's just move to the first tile. So what is first child? I've told you what is first child, and to show an example for that, I have was element p. Okay, and then I have suppose my college is this college, and then I have another called another p, and my college is that. This is just random things I'm writing. Okay, so moving on, suppose I have a div to this that covers both of them, and I stored it under a div. So now if I give to this div, no wait, I should give a class. There are many divs here. I should give a class here, div of first, not first child, test first, test first, and then if I write, sorry, classes are done using dot, and then test first, and now if I apply a color, and oh sorry wait, and now if I write a pseudo class to this, that is first child, that is first child, and now if I apply a color to this, suppose blue, maybe suppose blue, or a background color is most visible, let me apply a background color of blue, and now if I reload the page, okay, nothing happens. Wow. Okay, now I know why nothing happens. Let me see if this works. My college is Netaji Subhash. Okay. Now if I reload, okay, this live is ruining everything. Okay, let me try one more example. Okay. Let me try another example of suppose P, and then my college name is, and suppose I have a span of, suppose span is another tag, which is Netaji Subhash. Okay, and okay, and I have another span. I have another span. Your college is I have another span called this and that. Oh, okay. And now suppose I remove this, and now suppose I apply uh, CSS class, or suppose P. I do have any other? Okay, let me do this. First. Apply a new class called second test. First test failed. The second test and dot second test, and then I'll go for the span one. Okay, and for the span, the first child, and to this I'll apply a color of suppose a blue only. Let's just see if this works. Okay, this however works now. Okay, so you can see I just zoom in for you. My college name is Netaji Subhash. Okay, and your college in this and that is not chosen. So this is the purpose of this live. As I told you, we'll learn this together. Okay, so that's why you see so many mistakes. Okay, so what happens here is I chose this second test class. So this second test class is to select this paragraph, and then I told the CSS to select the spans first child. So my span's first child is this Netaji Subhas, and not this one. So it applies the uh, property, or the property of color blue to the Netaji Subhas only. So let me see once why the first one was not working. What have I done here? Why is a div? Okay, wait. No, no, no. So what was the name? Test first. Okay, test first, and then my P is first child. So what was happening here is, and now it's working. So yes, as I told you, we have I personally have arranged this stream so that not only I will learn, not only you will learn, even I have to learn uh, with that. So thank you if you are here with me. And let's just end this stream, and in the next time I'll actually one more thing. I'll just show you one more thing, because I had done this in the previous video. That is, if I do, this is very interesting. If I do a form, and if I do a input, as I showed you input with text, okay, and I'll just not use label. That's much of a work, and I'll just write username here, and suppose and it's all right. Okay, name username. That is not important. Let's just move to the important part. Suppose I have only one input, so I can directly write input here to select my input. And if I write a pseudo class that is a focus, I found this very interesting. And if I write focus here with a background color of, suppose I write a nice background color, suppose coral. Okay, suppose coral. And now if I reload the page, I'll just show you. Now if I reload the page, I got this. Okay, wait, are you able to see? Yes. So now if I reload the page, and I've got this beautiful, very beautiful form of username and text area, or sorry, input. And now if I focus on this, that is click on this, the color changes. Okay, so this is very useful. And whenever I'm not focusing on that is not clicking on that, that is clicking anywhere outside that input box, it defaults back to the original color. So this is very useful for making our forms more attractive and uh, good to look. So yes, I found that interesting and like to share with you all. And yes, for with that, I like to end the stream. It's already 51 minutes. So there are another two selectors left. That is pseudo elements, and there is a attribute. I think yes, attribute selector. So I'll do that in the next video. I think day after tomorrow. So yes, thank you. If you were wait, thank you if you were with me throughout this. And yeah, bye. Meet you day after tomorrow.